Not since Mo, Larry, and Curly, and the occasional Shemp have there been three, do I dare say, men willing to go out into the media, into the world, and share their shenanigans and goofiness until now, because now it is the debut, perhaps the only episode ever, depending upon how much you like it, of Baer, Brogan, and Comm. I'm Joel Comm, live video marketing guy, author. I write things, I say things, I do things. I am the chief shenanigizer, and welcoming my cohorts, my partners in crime, Mr. J. Baer, who, according to his Wikipedia page, which is the official bio, is an American marketing consultant. Good to know. He's a speaker. He's a New York Times bestselling author of the book Utility. He's president of Convince and Convert, and he's founded 5 companies, like enough for one whole hand. He works with big brands like Nike, Cold Stone, Sony, ConocoPhillips, and he is, according to Social Media Examiner, he has the #3 social media blog in the world. We're wondering why he doesn't try harder, though. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you, my friend. That's a relatively accurate bio by Wikipedia standards.
Yes. And of course, our other partner in crime is the one and only Chris Brogan. His Wikipedia bio is very brief. It says, "Hi, my name is Chris." No, what it actually says is Chris is a business advisor, a New York Times bestselling author. Hey, we're all New York Times bestselling authors. How about that? And the CEO of Owner Media Group, and he likes to do stuff. Hi, Chris.
Hey there. How the heck are you?
I wish, if people could see, we're actually on video recording this so we can see each other's bright, shiny faces. We are color-coded, very patriotic.
Yeah, or France. I was thinking about that too. Isn't it in this order that we're France?
Yes. Chris is wearing blue. Jay is wearing white, and I'm wearing red. So if you were to put a stick across the top of the screen, you could wave us as a flag from somewhere.
As we're recording this, it is Texas Independence Day, so perhaps there's some sort of accidental homage to the great state of Texas.
A little French there.
I'm going to do the whole rest of the show in French.
Isn't this the 186th Texas Independence Day?
Is it really? Jeez. I asked somebody today, and I should have asked my in-laws who all live there, how does one celebrate Texas Independence Day? And if it's by drinking beer and eating barbecue, it feels like every day is Texas Independence Day there. So I don't know what happens special. We should look that up on Wikipedia, maybe.
You have to do it big, because everything is bigger.
That's right.
I lived in Texas for 12 years, and the cockroaches are bigger.
Huh.
Have to be.
Yeah, well, they have to contend with everything else. Did you know that the Californian flag, the star on the Californian flag, is in support of Texas?
Oh, I did not know that.
That they were on the same page back then.
They were. California wanted to show their alliance with the nice people of Texas. Think about that, politically these days. But back then, California was like, Texas.
Shit, nowadays you just like a post or retweet something. Back then you had to change your whole goddamn flag. That's a serious, that's a serious expression of support, right? You talk about sort of a weak engagement rate. Here's what we're going to do. We're so behind you, we're changing the whole flag. That's stepping up.
Now we're going to have to put an explicit rating on the podcast.
Well, of course there is. Yes.
I expected there would be. There actually is a purpose and a point to this show, and we will discover it along with those who listen to it. And of course, we cherish, relish, and greatly desire the feedback of you, our listening public. And the question for you is, do you want more of this?
Of this introduction or of the show in general?
Discussing flags. Yeah.
Well, they haven't heard where we're going with it yet, but stick with us because we are going somewhere. And, basically what we're going to do is each one of us have interests that overlap. We're all techie. We're all businessy. We're all social. We're all nerds, nerd alert. Hello. We're all geeks.
Those guys are more nerds than me. I just want to put that out there right now.
Says the guy with the suspenders and tie, just for the record.
But not an active gamer. So there's that.
Not an active gamer. Sorry.
There's hope.
Yeah.
A new hope.
Can be won over. Get that man an Xbox.
We have an Xbox. We have all this stuff here. I just don't play.
You just don't play. It's okay.
My son.
We love
What,
you.
what do you want? Productivity? You want to actually like develop products and write things all day? If you have a next book coming out, Jay, I can tell you how to slow that right down.
Here's how to miss all your deadlines.
Yep.
Says the professional gamer.
In one easy step. Before we actually jump in content, I just want to take note of the gear. We all have professional microphones that bring out the silk smoothie dulcet tones. I've got a Heil PR40 here in front of me. What are you gentlemen using?
I have a Yeti.
I have a Yeti as well.
Yep.
So it is Yeti Heil.
I was gonna go with like a T. I was gonna go with like a T-Pain. I wanted a T-Pain pitch shifter, right? And really kind of go with that sort of a style in the show.
Maybe we can do an episode where we're all robot voices.
I love it.
Like the whole episode, we pick a voice to go with. Maybe Darth Vader.
Maybe we could spin a wheel for that one.
That's my favorite thing about Waze, right? Where you can change the voices to different people. And
have you done that? Because I did that.
Great.
And I did it with Kevin Hart, who I think is a pretty well-established comedian. I wanted to murder him after about 4 turns or whatever. Because if you think about it, a GPS voice system, it's only supposed to say go left, right? Yeah. But because it's a personality, they want him to say words. So he's like, you're gonna want to take a left right here. And that's like a horrible impression, right? But I would be the street. I would be so past the street. I'd be like, I'm going back for you, Kevin Hart. And be like, of course, my GPS yells at me no matter whose voice it is because I always do it wrong. But like, I was somehow madder that it was Kevin.
Does it have Morgan Freeman?
Oh. No, I don't think they got that kind of money. That guy's got to charge a lot for VO. But they did have Kevin Nealon. I think it was Kevin Nealon doing the impersonation of Colonel Sanders when that rolled out. That was pretty great. They did have T-Pain, 2 T-Pain references in the first 6 minutes of the show. They had a whole one in auto tune, which was pretty great. It was like, turn right and then turn left. It was pretty fantastic. So
they do have Morgan Freeman.
Could you imagine Morgan Freeman?
Morgan,
like it would be.
According to Reddit, Morgan Freeman is viable,
and Rob Gronkowski and Neil Patrick Harris and
God, I got to get Rob
God damn you, Kevin Hart and Terry Crews. I would do whatever that man told me to do. I'd be afraid not to.
I just want like a French maid voice to tell me, Monsieur Joel, you may turn left here at the intersection.
You know what? The closest one I see on this list to that is Stephen Colbert.
His is good. I had that one on for quite a while. This is very good. It's understated. It's not annoying.
Well, this is I'm going to say.
That cost? I wonder if that costs like more than like a Snapchat filter, or like if this is a serious business question. So from a brand standpoint, you're going to do some sort of campaign, roll out new movie, whatever, and you're like, okay, one of the ways we're going to amplify this bit is to do a custom voice on Waze. I wonder what that costs versus any sort of other digital or even traditional advertising. I've never done it for a client. I don't even think any of our clients have ever done it. I have no idea if that's $50,000, $5 million, somewhere in between.
So in other words, like let's say Netflix is getting ready to debut, season 5 of House of Cards, right? And
it'd be great, right? Kevin Spacey would be amazing.
Kevin Spacey would be fantastic, and he would throw little quips, little presidential quips along.
Yeah, of course you got to spend some in the studio, real script and all the different word combinations to make that happen. And so you'd have to not only pay Waze, but you'd have to convince Kevin Spacey to go sit in the studio for a day or 2 days to do all that as well. But that's cash. But I just wonder. I wonder how much it is. And people who are listening, if you have any idea of what that actually costs, let us know in the comments because I'm just curious.
I'm just thinking I'm still way back at Kevin Spacey telling me to turn left. My father used to tell me to turn left.
See, that's a better impression, Brogan. You should stay with Kevin Spacey.
I guess. Give us more. I want more Spacey.
Yeah.
Can you give us more of that?
No, but I can tell you that, for a little while I had that whole very first episode of House of Cards where he goes out in the street to help the next door neighbor's dog onto its next act. I had a good lot of that memorized because I thought it would be a good speech introduction.
Did you use it?
Not when the mic was on, but in sound check quite often. And, nothing like scaring the absolute hell out of people by showing that I, would tell them about how I had to kill this dog because, pain was weakness and all that.
Event organizers are like, do we have a backup speaker?
Next, the old hook comes out and pulls Brogan off. I like where you're going with this, Jay. This is really some creative thinking. I wonder what other applications that we regularly use.
Alexa. Why can't Alexa be a different voice, right? Why can't
Don't say that too loud. You're going to set her off.
Sorry, I know. Mine's in the other room, but why couldn't that's always the one, or Siri? I mean, with voice being such a major driver, what's going to happen now? Being able to customize those voices as marketing, and it's really experiential, I think has got huge potential. And frankly, technically way easier to pull off than AR or VR.
Now I'm looking at the apps on my phone and wondering what could be customized just a bit more, and where could you sell ad space?
Well, that's actually, I was having a conversation about Her Highness over there, and the fact that I can go into there as I have the developer kit, because anyone can, you just apply it. It's not like you have to be that fancy, and I can make my own apps, and I can do custom phrases for her and things like that. So, once we get to the point where we can actually wipe the whole the voice choices off or whatever, that's kind of interesting. But I like that even now, with If This Then That, and with Zapier, and with some of these other tools, I can really make this tool do what I want it to do, and it gets pretty interesting.
I want to know when somebody's going to make a fart app.
I think you've got that covered. But what if it's Kevin Spacey?
What would you call that fart
in
pack?
the studio for 2 days with a pot of chili and cabbage.
So about 4 years ago, there was a Rolling Stone article, and it was the cover story was George Clooney, and in the 8-page spread, he was asked something about farts, and he said, "I love farts. Farts are my favorite. They're funny. I have iFart on my iPhone," which of course created more sales. And Chris is holding up a picture of Mr. Clooney, whose facial hair I aspire to replicate even loosely. And we put out a press release asking him, inviting him to create a fart sound for iFart, since he was such a fan. And you wouldn't believe this, but we never heard back from him.
What a prima donna.
I know, right? Say you like farts, and then you won't let one rip for, a good cause.
Famous farts, man. Sofia Vergara, think about it.
Jay, who would you like to have a famous fart from?
I'm still thinking about the Sofia Vergara farting with a thick Latin American accent.
You guys are Star Wars fans, right?
Sure.
Probably not as much as Chris, but yes.
Because you're not quite as nerdy, even though you play one on TV.
That's right.
I have to. We added during the election season. We added a fart pack, and I'll just play the two from the finalists for you. The laughing pantsuit. And then we also have the Trump dump.
It's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it.
Wow.
And there's my shameless plug.
It's
great.
This episode brought to you by
retailer. Yes,
you got that quality microphone. That's key.
At Walfart, you go down the street to your local Walfart and pick up a copy. So the format for the show has taken a life of its own, as I suspected it might. But we actually did bring some topics to the table. Our precog selves saw the future. And Jay, you asked this question, which we can beat silly. And the question is has Apple truly jumped the shark? Go ahead and frame that for us.
Well, from a stock price standpoint, you would say no. I think it was just yesterday, Apple's stock hit an all-time high. I think that's correct. And it was really high, and then it went down and now back up. But some of that's just driven by, we have an incredible bull run in the market in 23 days in a row of record highs, which is really unprecedented. So setting aside sort of the stock market part of it, just from a pure product perspective, the iPhone 7 is barely any better than the iPhone 6, other than the fact they took the headphones away. Nobody's ever saying, here's this great feature in the 7 that I am so glad to have. The new stupid wireless headphones, I don't know anybody who likes those. And the new MacBook Pro takes away all your ports, so you can't plug anything in without a whole backpack full of dongles. And the animated bar thing, what's that thing called?
I don't know, but that sounds so funny.
Up on the function bar, they've got the all the different graphics you can slide around, and that just seems like the epitome of a gimmick. And I know very few people who bought that machine, even though almost every single person I interact with has a MacBook Pro, and almost nobody I know actually bought one. And those who did buy one, I said, "What do you think?" They're like, "Meh." And so this is a company that has made it their entire mission at the molecular DNA level to have nobody ever interact with their products and say, meh. Yet today, over the last 18 months, every product they come out with, everybody says, meh. And I don't think that's a positive. Now, this is a story that's been written a million times, and what Tim Cook has the same kind of drive and imagination, whether they've lost their way, etc. But I just wonder, like, maybe they've got something really amazing that they're getting ready to spring on us. But we've been talking about that for years, and I'm still waiting.
Yeah, I mean, the last big announcement was a pen. So Shelley Palmer, the media wizard.
We're working backwards. If a pen is your big product release,
right after
we had a grandfather clock coming.
Right after the pen, they're going to actually announce a pear and a pineapple and an apple. So
the eye bayonet, it's going to be amazing.
Yes. So Shelley Palmer back on February 12th wrote a post called "Is Apple Over?" And Shelley's a very well-known industry guy as far as technology, strategic advisory, and all that. The story written is very much from Shelley's own misery. I mean, it reads very much like a guy who's just personally sick of it and had a lot of problems with his devices and all that. But it's not unlike a lot of people. I just wrote a post up on Facebook a handful of days ago just saying only one thing: my L key is dying. Now, I've been a Mac guy for 20 plus years. We're doing this recording. I'm on a Mac desktop, but I've already said to people, this will probably be my last Mac anything. All of my Mac devices, I'm probably done. I'm an Android phone guy, so you don't have to worry about me there. I love Android because I can do this weird thing called control all my apps and choose how I want things to work, which is weird. And I just haven't, besides maybe two pieces of software, media making software, there's almost nothing I can't get that's not Mac or PC, or that I'm not about 89% cloud minus some of my media making. So I just don't see the real reason or value to go there anymore. And there's just no woo-woo when, like, Trend Hunter today announced there's a new laptop case that'll have extra ports for people who miss your ports. Quit it.
Did you guys, so what are you guys, you use an Android, Jay, what are you using?
Well, that's part of it, right? So I have an iPhone 7 and a MacBook Pro mid 2014 edition. I have an iPad Mini that I use on occasion for events, for notes when I'm an MC and stuff like that. But the issue is my whole family is in that Apple ecosystem. So between the four of us, we have 4 MacBooks, and we have 4 iPhones, and we have 3 iPads, right? And so to then switch to anything becomes, a visceral and expensive decision, because not only are you upgrading and changing hardware, but now all the apps you bought, you got to rebuy, and they suck you in, and so you get to be really pissed to switch. And I think that's one of the reasons why it hasn't hurt their stock price. Is like, well, yeah, it's not what it once was, but I sure don't want to switch because it's just too much hassle.
I had a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 4S, a 5, and a 6, and I'm still using the 6. I do not like that they took my audio jack away, and I think that when this phone dies and I'm seeing some freaky things happen, I might need to replace it. I'll probably get another 6 because I'm just not a fan of what they did. I don't want to wear Bluetooth headphones and zap my brain with all kinds of cancer.
The time that it really is annoying is when you're on a flight. I mean, I've had this phone now since September, and I don't miss the headphone jack very often, except when you're flying, because when you're flying, you want to listen to music, and you also want to keep your phone charged, but you cannot do those two things at the same time. And that is, because the little adapter to allow the headphones to plug in is annoying, of course, and I've already lost one, as you might suspect, but it's not a deal breaker. But this whole, I fly a ton. I did 170 flights last year. So wow, being able to charge your phone and listen to music at the same time is kind of an existential question for me. And you can't do it. And that's annoying.
I was looking at some stats from back October-ish 2016, and Surface, Microsoft Surface tablet, which no one is exactly rushing out to promote that product.
NFL loves it.
Revenue came up at 926 million, which was up 38% compared to the same time last year. And they're saying it's putting a big dent. Now, my first indication of that was I was at a hotel. No, was it on YouTube? It was YouTube. 2 YouTube videos in a row I watched had ads from Apple. The first one said, "Hey, you should know that you can run Office on this. You can run Word on this thing." And I was like, "Whoa!" And then the second one was like, "Hey, didn't you just have a Windows tablet?" "Yeah, but I got a virus." "Oh, well, we don't get those." Which, by the way, it's not true anymore. Used to be really true.
It's not true.
So, I mean, to watch Apple make those ads, I know Microsoft's been swiping at Apple for the last year plus on what their thing does that the other guy doesn't. But to watch Apple fight back with ads was really, to me, like there's a little knock on the armor right there.
Well, because the iPad is really unless you get a super giant Pro one, in general, the iPad is a content consumption device, correct, whereas the Surface is really intended to be a laptop replacement and does most of those same things. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that power users are saying, well, wait a second. I mean, I want to be able to actually do my work here. And I suppose you could make that happen with an iPad if you're going to get a bunch of extra keyboards and this and that and a pen and but Surface does all those things together and does the cool flippy keyboard routine, and so I get it.
And ultimately, I saw this note that said, no matter what they do, at the end of the day, it's still iOS, not Mac OS. So that's one big difference is that Surface Pad. Again, I'm not advocating any particular thing. I'm just saying what's out there in the news. Surface is running Windows, full Windows 10, so you run real Windows apps on it.
This last 10 seconds brought to you by Microsoft. I felt the same way about
We'll take their money. Let's not discount it.
Mr. Gates, you may send your billions our way. We're happy to split it. The iWatch or the whatever they call it, the Apple Watch. We're all super geeky.
So insignificant, I didn't even mention it. Didn't even mention it in my initial indictment. That's how much I don't like that.
I almost forgot.
Yes, you don't have one. Chris, you don't have one.
No, I got a Shinola watch. Yeah. Go Detroit.
An actual Shinola watch.
Truly from Detroit.
Yeah, they're great. My wife has one. They're awesome. Shinola's a great brand.
So
doesn't do anything. Just tells time.
So the question again, has Apple jumped the shark? Is innovation gone away along with Steve Jobs passing?
It's hard to argue that it hasn't in a world where their biggest advertisements lately are for pens, little tiny losable earbuds, and dongle world. It just doesn't really strike me that there's a lot of woo going on over there. I mean, think about when we saw like the MacBook Air. When you saw the MacBook Air, you and your friends and everybody, I did too. I had one of those.
When they pulled it out of the manila envelope, it was like, holy shit.
Yep. It was a big moment. And the first ever iPod way back in the day.
Huge.
The iPhone changed the entire face of the telecom. I was in wireless telecom when that thing came out. And the conversation before that is, how many minutes do you have? What's your service like?
Right.
The very next week, it was like, what apps do you have?
Hardware.
Merry Christmas. Have a
day. Now, so I think the question, Joel, is have they lost their way?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that in a vacuum, as we're having this conversation, look backwards 2 years, I think you could probably make the case that they have. But the thing about technology is that, you could hit it out of the park tomorrow, right? The next product release is September. They could come out with something that nobody's ever seen before, and this show is going to sound ridiculous that we even brought the topic to the surface. But now, I'm hoping too. I hope that too. Now, would I bet on it? No, which is why I don't own Apple stock. But what I've heard about 8 is it's going to be all glass. You've probably seen these rumors that the iPhone 8 will be all glass all the way around. And as a result, it will be conductive to the point that it's all wireless charging, that you can just put it on a pad. It will charge wirelessly, which could be really, really interesting. Like if they can make that happen, that would be a noteworthy achievement for sure.
Apple was the counterculture at one point, and now it's very mainstream, biggest company in the world, and they're ubiquitous. And that means that either Microsoft or some other brand has an opportunity to step in and become the new technological counterculture, the new cool.
Yeah, Microsoft disrupting Apple is a hilarious notion, since it was the exact opposite at one point. But that's the cyclical nature of technology, I guess.
All right, I think we beat that one pretty simply.
What's our next one?
What you guys think? Be sure to leave us comments about the future of Apple from your perspective. Chris is bringing an interesting topic to the table, and it's around the area of artificial intelligence and chatbots. I'm actually a chatbot. I am responding intelligently and somewhat artificially and doing a good job fooling everybody. But define what a chatbot is, Chris.
Oh, make me be the techie. So the definition is basically a program that's made to simulate conversation with human users. So a lot of times you can go to these various websites that have them employed, and they'll say, "Hi, I'm Sam, your awesome chatbot, and I want you to be happy today." And it'll proceed to make you the least happy human you've ever been. Because chatbots are dumbasses. And what's gone on, though, is that over time, what's gone on is that we have made them better. And so along the way, we've had an opportunity to have software that will emulate things a lot better. So you could say on a tax website, I'm not sure how long to wait for my return. And it'll have a good guess what you just asked it and things like that.
Yep.
And that's kind of where it's going. But in that same face as chatbots and all that, automated systems and AI like our friend Amazon Echo and Siri and Google Voice, the chatbots that now exist inside of places like Slack, which is, just ubiquitous as an internal comms platform for technology, and just the opportunities that we have to link really good and useful information that certain generations as we're going along want in that form faster, I think is what becomes interesting. I just think that when you start looking east to my friends in China, Alibaba, WeChat, those kinds of guys, they are doing a lot with chatbots. And every time you see an innovation going on in their space, their mobile tools, their social tools, etc., it would be really dumb to go, oh, but that's China. There's some stuff to really learn there. And I think that as much as certain people don't really want to do China, I think that we have to pay attention to, where they're going with their mobile tech, because we're going to catch up to it eventually in about 3 or 4 years.
Alibaba?
I've met him. He's not a bad guy.
Do you know his wife, Bibi?
Bibi Baba.
Yeah. And all the little babas.
Yes.
Okay, Jay's looking at me like, just
Is
walk
he
away.
serious?
just like walk away.
He said yes. Why?
I couldn't agree more with Chris about the importance of chatbots. I actually wrote about it a lot in Hug Your Haters from a customer service context. That as more and more customers try to use different channels to interact with brands that don't require waiting on hold or sending a full email from a keyboard, and in some cases they don't want to use social because that has its own baggage, you're going to start to see more and more chatbots and messenger apps, things like that, take over, especially for routine questions that don't require a lot of nuance or comprehensive or explanation. We're seeing tons of big brands starting to build bots inside Facebook Messenger, especially in retail and e-commerce, to update you on shipping timelines and things along those lines. Almost as an email replacement, which I think is kind of fascinating. So I am really, really bullish. And in fact, our strategy team has been working on a lot of different strategic plans for brands about what their kind of bot program should be over the next 18 to 24 months.
Will they make us hate them the way we hate phone trees? That's, the question I have. The way that we have automated customer service is entirely frustrating. The music on hold that we get while we're waiting makes me want to blow my brains out. Thank you, United Airlines. And, is it going to be a more engaging, welcoming experience for us, or are we going to want to slam our keyboards?
Well, one thing to say is that chatbots are sort of an advance on what was going on in like the mid-late 90s when instant messenger was all the rage. And we built a lot of interfaces like this. And, I just commented about this a couple of days ago. I had a B&H photo and video question. I couldn't figure out how to I was not a member of B&H. I just had an order number and I wanted to check the order and I couldn't figure out how to do that. And so I didn't know what to do. So I clicked for help and boop, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm your chatbot, blah, blah, blah. it was a human, and he had a bunch of scripts like this is the old style of doing it. And all I was thinking was, I did not have to wait in queue 4 minutes for this human to do this because I knew my order number and a smart enough chatbot could do this. Now, let me say I had a great experience. I thought, wow, B&H, good for you, man, because that was way better than having to wait on a phone line. I love that I could just type and you gave me what I wanted. But there is no reason to make that a human being scenario until someone pushes the "I'm frustrated" button. And probably Jay had some kind of commentary about that in his book. I don't remember very much the segment on Hug Your Haters about chatbots, so I'm gonna have to go reread it. But I will tell you that they're always. I used to develop voice response units, those push to and wait for nothing kind of things. And there's always a bunch of queued things that we have in there for when people are pissy, because you have to let them loose to humans at some point. If you don't, they lose their minds, and it just really spools up a bunch of enmity. So with chatbots, there always has to be that. There has to be that, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Hang on a second. Here's a human.
You're going to have to revise the book and have hug your chatbots, right?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that.
You should say that.
Customer service is being disrupted, right, in the same ways that marketing has been disrupted, and now at the same accelerated pace. And so the book has been out a year exactly, and yeah, we may have to take another whack at it because things have changed.
It'll be interesting to watch, and we want to know what you guys think as well. So on this topic of chatbottery, I'd love to know if people have used them, whether it's in Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or just on a website. I'd love to get some first-person accounts of experiences with that technology, just to kind of see what people think out there. Because a lot of it is, it's not so much about the programming or the hardware or the expense. It's going to be about what the public's kind of party line is, right? If there's like this manifest widespread enthusiasm for this technology, and the early survey research would indicate that there will be, but if everybody's kind of like, yeah, we like this technology, then I think you'll start to see tons of it, the same way that voice activation has taken off, because everybody's like, yeah, we kind of dig it. But that was no sure thing. Like, it's easy to look backwards now and say, well, of course the success of Amazon's Echo and Google Home and all that was preordained, but that's not at all true. No. I mean, I had one of the very, very first units of the Echo, and people thought I was insane. Like, why, including my wife, like, why would we want one of these? This is the stupidest thing ever. And now it's become like this massive, massive success. But that was by no means assured. And I think the same thing is true with chatbots and this kind of low touch, high efficiency customer contact mechanism. If people collectively are like, yeah, we kind of dig it, then I think you'll see it. But if people are like, you know what, we don't like it, then even though it makes sense for businesses, I don't think it'll really take off. So I'd love to know what listeners have experienced themselves. Well, and I think there's probably a lot of people that don't know that they're being chat-botted, right?
That's a really good point, Joel. Absolutely.
They're designed to be authentic. Hi,
that's the idea. Yeah, it's supposed to fool you, right? But to Chris's point, it at some point, that sort of Wizard of Oz thing has to fall away if it's going into the weeds, right? If it's going into a ditch. I had somebody on my Social Pros podcast a few weeks ago, a CEO of an organization, Live World, that does a lot of chatbot sales and service and builds them for companies. And one of the things he really focused on in that conversation was that inflection point, Chris, like when and how do we move it from automated chatbot to human assisted, and what flags that, and what does that sort of specific customer experience look and feel like? And that's an area that they're spending a lot of time on is how do you make that feel good, not like the robots have taken over and they've done it all wrong, right? Because it can feel real scary and awkward and just a bad customer experience. And so that handoff, the same way you hand off from sales to marketing, is really critical.
That tends to be, by the way, on the top of mind of CEOs, according to the PwC CEO survey that just came out. One of the things they're most worried about is trust in the age of robots. So being an author who wrote a book about trust, you can rest assured that'll be in my next book, because at the same time, we want any times that we can to improve velocity and reduce friction, we do have to work on
not at the expense of trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It reminds me of the early telephone bots. Welcome to Movie Phone. For Star Wars Revenge of the Sequel, press 1. Right?
That's the best sign I'll ever. Why don't you just tell me what time the movie?
I say that.
Tell me where you live.
All time. Out of context.
All time.
So you guys reply and let us know all these questions surrounding chatbots. Want to hear your thoughts on it. We are gathering data so that we can chatbot you. And I'm actually, I was going to bring a different topic today, but because the day we're recording this is the Snapchat IPO. It's closed, it's finished. And I think I just want to talk about that. They thought it was going to IPO around $17 a share. It closed at just under $24.50 a share for a market cap of, get this, $28 billion. I want to do it like Dr. Evil, $28 billion. I fell in love with Snapchat November 2015. I thought, what a great tool to be creative with. I got it. It wasn't just for kids and perverts. And now it was for, you know, a middle-aged man marketer like myself as well. But I see some real horrible warning signs that, you know, Zuckerberg is out to crush Snapchat. I'm just wondering, you know, is this thing, it's kind of a rhetorical question. Is it the hype overblown? But what's the future of Snapchat?
Me first. The minute I saw this thing, I have been a naysayer. And you got to understand, in 2006, I was going, Twitter's awesome. And everyone's like, you're stupid. And then it took many years for anyone to be like, oh, okay, Brogan might have something here. And now Twitter's stupid, but you know, it took a while. When Snap came out, I really worried that this was my old man line in the sand. Like, I really worried. I thought of Snap just the way anyone else did when they first ever heard about it, boobies. And, you know, I already have a thing for that. It's called a fiance, and I don't need the software. So, you know, when it, you know, grown-ups started going there, I knew that meant kids were going to stop going there. And when
grown-ups have boobies too, just for
as it happens, I'm told. And then what I also learned was that, you know, their biggest star was DJ Khaled, and that told me something. And so from there, I've just never had, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the spectacles. I'm not interested in any of it. Jim Cramer just yesterday was talking about the fact that they're paying out $600 million a year in server costs to Google and Amazon. $600 million a year. God bless you. And I can tell you that, to me, that's a pretty intense thing, because they reported 1 billion. They're saying they're on the way to 2 billion. I get it. Like, it will start to be a fractional part of their margin, but 600 million to two other companies that could at any time Google roll over and say, maybe we'll make our own. Meantime, Zuckerberg has, and he keeps taking the best of the features and giving us the simplest of the transitions. And no one's, you know, I saw a tweet, and I can't find it anymore. I saw a tweet saying, how did they value this thing at $20 billion when they valued SpaceX at 10? One has rockets going into space. One has rainbow filters. And that's where
and huge losses, massive losses. And combine that with the fact that Facebook Messenger, as soon as they decide to make it where you can create stories with that and publish them to your feed, that's 1.2 billion people that have access. Combine it with the fact that Facebook owns Instagram, and Instagram stories can reach 600 million people. And internationally, especially, Facebook owns WhatsApp, which has a 1.2 billion user base. And they just announced WhatsApp status, which is pretty much the same thing, minus the geo filters.
And I use WhatsApp every day in the States, you know, because I don't know, Jack and I decided that was our platform, but I also did it, you know, when I was working with some Canadians, and that was their platform. So I use all of the Snapchat competitors, and any which one of them you want to send me your weird filtered business pictures, I think, go ahead, have a ball. But, you know, I don't need that next platform. And I guess that's the other thing that's always bothered me as a marketer: zero links. Zero real way to do anything especially useful, not any particularly good insights or stats coming off the back end of it. And so there's probably some branding play that I'm not smart enough to know. But, you know, in 2016 social media marketing world, I just really felt like the old guy, will never make it, because more and more people were trying to get me to, you know, snap their snap hole or whatever they call it. And I was just like, get away from me, snap bastards.
You just called it a snap hole?
I did.
Well, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. You know, Snapchat's an effective platform, and people who like it tend to love it. And if you look at the data, it is far and away the most popular platform amongst Americans under the age of 24, and it's not even close. And so that's not nothing. That is there is a business there. I like it a lot. I don't use it as much as I used to for the reasons that we've articulated, that I prefer Instagram because I'm already on Instagram. It's an easier user experience, a better interface in my estimation, and there's more people there. And it's also more marketer friendly. But Snapchat is a viable business in theory, if you stop the bleeding from a financial perspective. But being a viable business and being a $28 billion company ain't the same thing. And so what has happened in this IPO is exactly what most people predicted. It's like, hey, big tech IPO, and everybody who missed out on the Facebook IPO or just feel bullish on tech or people who love Snapchat, everybody rushes in. You're going to get a first day pop, and maybe they'll have a pop for a while, but unless something fundamentally changes, you question where this stock is in a year. But what's really interesting, I think, in a bigger perspective, is they don't bill themselves as a social network, right? They say in their IPO filing that they're a hardware company, that they're a camera company, and that spectacles and other photo capturing devices is really what that company is all about. Now, there's no evidence of that other than spectacles, at least not yet. But I guess the way I would say this in a shorter, more concise fashion is what we know of Snapchat today makes me incredibly skeptical about that valuation. But maybe that's not at all what they have planned.
Well, tell me that Zuckerberg isn't working on wearables.
Well,
cameras.
they already own all the VR guys, right? I mean, they already own Oculus. Now, the price point of Oculus versus the glasses is different. Yeah, well, Joel, you've got both. You have both Oculus and spectacles. Obviously, they're manifestly different devices, but which of them do you feel is more impactful?
Well, I think VR, the future of VR is a lot more favorable than Snapchat in general is to me. But when I'm talking about what wearables Facebook is going to invent, it's not going to surprise me to see wearable camera devices that will let you go live. I think that's a key for Snapchat, not only to get these spectacles out there and license that technology so that you can put the camera on frames that actually don't look super dorky, but also Snapchat has to go live soon. It's all about eyeballs per minute. And Facebook is live, Instagram's live, Twitter's live with Periscope. They've got to go live. And I think spectacles could be the gateway to first person live, which really harkens back to Justin TV from 2005, 2006.
Sure. Yep. I love it.
All the time I'm sitting here biting through my tongue thinking about Justin Can. I'm thinking about Loic Lemour with Seismic. I'm thinking about all these things I did once already. I've done all of these. All these boxes have been checked. And I was thinking about when you were talking about how great VR is going to be, I was like, I remember Second Life. Sure. And I know that they're not the same. Believe me, I do. But I can tell you that the business side of me, not the let's have fun part, especially as a gamer. I mean, I put my kid's PlayStation VR on and I was in that little diving bathysphere thing and the shark came up to attack. I'm freaked out by sharks as it is Jaws. I lost my stuff. And I could tell that the VR quality was like as good as like what GIFs were in 1995. Like it's, we've got so much further to go. Like it's gonna be really wild. I get it. But as a business type person, when I think of spectacles and all that, I switch to AR. And I really think, Minority Report stuff. And I think of, Comcast engineers out on my phone pole.
Much more useful because you can actually, you can actually live your life.
Yeah. Snap stuff happening like that and data that comes on what Google Glass thought it was going to be. But I'm still not there because I'm still stuck in that same thing with Google Glass. When SNL made fun of it, that was my opinion right out of the door. And with spectacles, I'm not any further along with that yet. I mean, it's like wearing a Volkswagen Beetle on your face. And I'm just sort of waiting until there's some other implementations. And
going back to the first question on this debut episode of the BBC.
Or curmudgeons talking smack.
Or curmudgeons talking smack, or the One and Done show. I really believe that the AR future is not photographic, it's audio, right? The movie Her, I believe, is one of the most prescient pieces of filmmaking ever. And I still believe that when we talk about Apple, and Beats and that purchase, and now the AirPod phones, like, to me, Siri plus Bluetooth embeddable earbuds equals the future. And it's much, much more viable to have somebody walking down the street and you're getting Yelp reviews in your earbud than it is to have any sort of glasses or contacts or anything that obscures or enhances your vision is by definition a limited market. But if it's in your ear, you have everybody as a potential market. And I just feel like that is actually what's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong.
You had me at the use of the word prescient.
Thank you.
I mean, that was your
son of an English teacher. I come by it naturally.
I feel like you're here so that we have an adult in the room.
I do my best. And non-gamer. It's the non-gamer's perspective.
That's a dangerous concept, though. That's like, oh my gosh, what's his name? The comedian John Mulaney. He was talking about the fact that he was remembering when he was a kid and he used to get babysat by a slightly older kid. He goes, it never quite made sense when I thought about it later. He goes, I really started thinking about it. I thought it's like letting a horse babysit a dog. Like, it's just not okay. You know?
He's so great. John Mulaney is one of my favorite comedians, and it's tragic. He's going to be here in Bloomington, in my small town, at an awesome comedy club, which is about the size of my living room. But I will be in California for spring break with the kids. So damn those kids.
We kind of create almost a straight line across the country, don't we? Because I'm in Denver. You're in Bloomington, and you're east in what little
in that Boston area, a little north of.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to add a fourth, they would have to be like in LA or something.
San Diego, maybe. I'd have to check my latitude, longitude.
Yeah,
curmudgeon coast to coast.
Yeah, we should actually look it up and see, or ask one of our voice activated devices how far apart we actually are as the crow flies.
Alexa, how far apart are we?
I'm sorry, I can't find anything for that. I would pay real money to let me change some of those answers for her.
Oh,
I don't know. Why don't you look it up, fat ass?
Yeah,
that would be my dream.
Yeah, ask Google.
I find that
I still think the custom voices, though. I would pay to have Joel Comm be my Alexa instead of Alexa.
Yeah.
Why would you want me?
You have a beautiful voice.
You've got good pipes, man.
You got the pipes, man. And on that note, like where they always say quit while you're ahead. I figure I just
he's taking us out of the show as soon as we say something nice about Joel, and we're out.
What a great sag. Jay, Chris, you guys are fun to hang out with.
You're the best.
Yeah, it's fun. We'll do it again.
Tell
us what you think, people. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, tell us what you think. Leave your comments. Put some change in the tip jar, or just leave candy, because I think we're all good with that. And the show is Baer, Brogan, and Comm, and if you'll notice, it's alphabetical.
As it should be.
It is a BBC, which could actually stand for many things.
The British
but definitely
Broadcasting Company. That's what I said.
That's not what you said. But I won't say what you said, because that's what she said.
That'll be in the outtakes that people can subscribe to.
Until and if and when we meet again, listeners of the internets, thanks for joining us. Catch you next time. Do good stuff.